The town of Ravenswood was a small, quiet place, nestled deep within the dense, ancient woods of northern England. The locals avoided the forest after dark, for it was said to be haunted. Strange lights were often seen flickering between the trees, and whispers echoed through the night, carried by the wind. The most unsettling stories, however, were about those who ventured too far into the woods and never returned. Evelyn Hart, a young woman with a curious mind and a thirst for the unknown, had recently moved to Ravenswood. The stories of the haunted woods intrigued her, and despite the warnings from the townsfolk, she was determined to uncover the truth. One chilly October evening, Evelyn decided to venture into the forest. She equipped herself with a flashlight, a notebook, and a small digital recorder, hoping to capture any evidence of the paranormal. As she entered the woods, the sun dipped below the horizon, and an eerie silence fell over the trees. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Evelyn walked deeper into the forest, her flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. Every now and then, she paused to listen, but all she could hear was the sound of her own breathing and the crunch of leaves underfoot. After what felt like hours, she reached a clearing surrounded by tall, gnarled trees. In the center of the clearing stood an old stone well, covered in moss and ivy. Curiosity piqued, Evelyn approached the well. She shone her flashlight into its depths, but the light couldn't penetrate the darkness below. As she leaned closer, she thought she heard something, a faint whisper, barely audible. "Help! Me!" The voice was weak, almost desperate. Evelyn's heart raced. She grabbed her recorder and pressed the record button, holding it over the well. The whisper came again, louder this time. "Please, help me." Evelyn hesitated, her rational mind battling with her curiosity. She knew she should leave, but something about the voice compelled her to stay. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small rope she had brought with her. Tying one end to a nearby tree, she lowered the other into the well. As the rope descended, the whispers grew more frantic, overlapping with one another until they became an incomprehensible cacophony of voices. Evelyn's hands trembled, but she continued to lower the rope until it finally hit the bottom with a soft thud. "Come down," a voice urged, clear and distinct amid the chaos. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat. She knew it was a terrible idea, but the pull of the unknown was too strong to resist. She tied the recorder to her belt, took a deep breath, and began to climb down the rope. The walls of the well were damp and cold, the air thick with the smell of wet stone. The voices grew louder with each foot she descended, their whispers echoing in her ears. As she neared the bottom, she felt the rope give way slightly, causing her to lose her grip and fall the last few feet onto a soft, muddy surface. Evelyn quickly scrambled to her feet, shining her flashlight around. The well was much larger at the bottom than she had anticipated, more of a cavern than a simple well. The walls were covered in strange symbols, carved deep into the stone and glowing faintly in the darkness. Before she could examine them further, the voices stopped abruptly, leaving an oppressive silence in their wake. Evelyn's flashlight flickered, and the temperature dropped suddenly, her breath visible in the cold air. Then she heard it, a soft, dragging sound coming from the shadows. She turned her flashlight toward the noise, her hand shaking. The beam illuminated a figure slowly emerging from the darkness. A woman, her clothes tattered and her hair matted with dirt and leaves. Her eyes were hollow, empty sockets staring straight at Evelyn. Evelyn stumbled backward, her heart pounding in her chest. The woman reached out a skeletal hand, her fingers curling as if to grasp something. "Help! Me!" the woman whispered, her voice the same one Evelyn had heard earlier. Evelyn couldn't move, frozen by fear. The woman took another step forward, her movements unnatural, jerky, as if her limbs were being controlled by unseen strings. The air around them grew heavy, oppressive, as if the very walls of the well were closing in on them. Suddenly, the woman lunged at Evelyn, her mouth opening wide in a silent scream. Evelyn screamed too, the sound echoing through the cavern as she turned and scrambled up the rope. She climbed as fast as she could, her hands burning from the friction. The voices returned, louder and more frenzied, urging her to come back, to stay with them. But Evelyn didn't stop. She pulled herself over the edge of the well and collapsed onto the ground, gasping for breath. The voices continued to echo from the well, growing fainter as she crawled away. Finally, the whispers faded into silence. Evelyn staggered to her feet, her mind racing. She didn't stop running until she reached the edge of the forest, the town's lights a welcome sight in the distance. Back in her small, cozy home, Evelyn played the recording from her adventure. At first, it was just static, but then she heard the whispers, clear and unmistakable, the same desperate pleas for help she had heard in the well. But then, something else. Her own voice, distorted and distant, repeating the words she never said. "Come down. Stay with us." The recording ended with a soft, chilling laugh, one that sent a shiver down her spine. She deleted the file, but the sound lingered in her mind, haunting her dreams for many nights to come. Evelyn never went back to the woods, but sometimes, on quiet nights, she swore she could hear the whispers, faint and distant, calling her back to the darkness.
Friends, and subscribe to my channel. Open the notification bell and be aware of my videos. Thank you.